In the history of the world, the most dangerous war was the First World War. The world had never thought that an even more dangerous war could occur, and that's why the First World War was named the Great War. Before this, I had already shared the stories of the First World War and Adolf Hitler. If you haven't seen those videos, I have provided the links in the description. You can check them out. The biggest cause of the Second World War was the First World War. Germany had suffered a massive defeat in the First World War, and among the soldiers, there was a doctor fighting from Germany. They could not accept this defeat, and this laid the foundation for the Second World War. The Second World War is also known as the Global War or the Total War. This war took place from September 1st, 1939, to August 1945. Some historians believe that the war started as early as 1937, with the Sino-Japanese War between China and Japan. During World War II, around 70 to 80 million people lost their lives, out of which 50 million were civilians, and only 30 million were soldiers. This is why the war is referred to as a global war or total war. The world was divided into two alliances, the Allied powers and the Axis powers. The Allied powers included the UK, France, the USA, China, and Greece, while the Axis powers included Germany, Italy, and Japan. You can see on the map that the countries colored in green represent the Allied powers, while the countries colored in red belong to the Axis powers. The countries shaded in yellow were neutral. Our country, India, was also part of the Allied powers because it was under British rule at the time. While India was fighting alongside the British government against Japan and Germany, Subhash Chandra Bose and his Azad Hind Fauj, Indian National Army, were fighting with Japan and Germany. The biggest cause of the Second World War was the Treaty of Versailles, which was signed after the First World War in 1919. During this treaty, many territories of Germany were taken over by its neighboring countries, which made Germany's situation extremely difficult. The treaty created a lot of resentment among the Germans, especially with the compromises forced upon them. In 1933, when Adolf Hitler came to power in Germany, he gradually started regaining the lost territories and began violating all the treaties. On September 1st, 1939, at 4:45 a.m., Germany attacked Poland. You can see on the map where Germany and Poland are located. Within a few hours, millions of German soldiers entered Poland. After about a month of battle, Germany had conquered Poland, and France and Britain could not provide any help. After about 6 months, Hitler targeted France and Britain. Meanwhile, Mussolini, the dictator of Italy, started expanding his rule, aiming to recreate the Roman Empire in Europe. Japan, on the other hand, sought to dominate Asia. Germany, Italy, and Japan started the war. On April 9, 1940, Hitler attacked Norway. German forces captured Norway and Denmark. A few months later, Germany captured the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg, bringing them under German rule. In June 1941, Hitler launched a massive attack on the Soviet Union. Within just 15 days, Germany defeated France, and by then, they had control of most of Eastern Europe, except for Britain. Later, Germany attacked Britain, and a brutal war ensued. The battle continued for many months. Finally, Germany was unable to achieve victory, and Hitler postponed the idea of fighting Britain. Instead, he began an unprovoked attack on Russia, which led to his downfall. Germany could not withstand the Soviet forces, and millions of German soldiers were killed. The Soviet army drove the German forces out. After this, Germany declared war on the United States, even though there was no animosity between the two countries. The main reason for this declaration was Japan, which attacked the U.S. Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. 4 days later, Hitler declared war on the United States. In Asia, Japan was already fighting Britain. The declaration of war by Germany against the United States proved disastrous for Germany. On June 6, 1944, the United States, Britain, and other Allied forces launched an invasion in Europe, attacking Germany. By this time, Italy had already been captured. Gradually, the defeat of Germany became inevitable, and Hitler's downfall was sealed. On April 30th, 1945, Hitler committed suicide. His death remains a mystery. With Hitler's death, Germany's defeat was confirmed, and the Second World War in Europe came to an end. But the war in Asia continued. Japan was still a formidable opponent. They had taken control of key territories and even reached the U.S. Pacific Islands. The United States first warned Japan with a nuclear attack threat, but Japan did not heed it. On August 6, 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, killing nearly 200,000 people. Despite this, Japan continued its campaign. On August 9, 1945, the U.S. dropped another atomic bomb on Nagasaki, killing millions. After this, Japan surrendered, bringing the Second World War to an end. Such attacks were terribly wrong, and their consequences are still felt today. The Second World War ended, but British rule continued in India. The British Empire controlled India, and after the end of the war, Japan's defeat and the weakening of Britain played a significant role in India's independence. Subhash Chandra Bose was reported missing on August 18, 1945. Britain had become too weak to control India for much longer, and the Second World War was one of the key factors that led to India's independence. A few years later, India gained its freedom,